I'm Tim Barkley with Charleston Home and Design Magazine, and we're here at the 2009 Charleston Home and Design Magazine Idea House, and we're talking with Bill Payzant with the Nautilus Company. How you doing, Bill?
Fine, Tim. How are you?
Doing well. The owners of the Charleston Home and Design Magazine Idea House have allowed us to come into their home and kind of use the Idea House as a sample house to talk about the Nautilus Company's home management side of their business, and Bill's going to be telling us about that. Before we start, why don't you just tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about your background?
My background's primarily in home building and project management. I've been a builder for a little over 10 years now, primarily in the high-end side of building here locally and also up in New England and Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Previous to that, I worked on some larger yachts and was a captain on yachts, and there you had to do just about everything. But the most important piece of the puzzle in all cases was being able to coordinate the various subcontractors and get everything completed in a time and a schedule and the dollar amount that the owners needed in order to keep their projects moving forward. So it's really the project management side that I feel is the most important piece of the puzzle.
And the Nautilus Company has two sides of the business. There's the custom home building side.
Exactly. We do custom home building and renovations as well as the home management services, which we felt was really needed here locally. Originally, the thought came from building on the high end, where most of the homeowners were absentee homeowners, and the need for somebody to maintain these houses to the level that they really required in order to maintain their investment and also cater to them when they were in town. So that was the initial push to create Nautilus Company and the home management services. But in addition to that, there's also a need for the busy individual or family that's out there who just doesn't really have the time to properly maintain their home. They might be two working parents with small children who are doing many activities on the weekends, and the honey-do list just keeps growing and doesn't seem to be getting any smaller. So we're there to help those type of people out as well. They can have one phone call, give us a ring, and we can take care of everything they need to do to maintain their home.
And there's an amazing number of absentee homeowners here. A lot of folks have vacation homes on Kiowa and Seabrook, Isle of Palm, Sullivan's Island, Folly, and so on. And they're visiting, a few times during the year. The rest of the time, their house is empty. And what potentially can happen to a house like that is unoccupied for the majority of the year?
You name it. The hard part about those houses especially is that they're usually beachfront, or at least close to it if they're not front row. But that salt environment, the direct salt environment, could really wreak havoc on all sorts of systems and really just intrusion problems with the wind. The other thing that we found, we've had a lot of past customers who end up having rodent problems. You really wouldn't believe it, but if you're not there to hear them and see them, especially in the winter when it gets cold, they like to find their way up into the duct systems and into the house, and those critters in there with nobody knowing about it can really cause problems.
Yeah, if rodents don't hear any activity, human activity, they move right in and make themselves at home.
Absolutely. The other thing we've seen a lot on the higher end houses, which I was sharing with you before we started the video, is we've seen a lot of water problems, and we usually see them on pools and irrigation systems where there'll be a pretty major leak, and if nobody's there checking the house out and taking a look every week, every other week, these things can go undetected for a long time until the homeowner finally gets a really large water bill, and I've seen them as high as $5,000 a month on either an irrigation leak or a pool autofill that's stuck open.
Gotcha. Well, tell me about the initial discovery process that the Nautilus Company undertakes when they're talking to either an absentee homeowner about the home that that the absentee homeowners are visiting a few times a year, or on the house that is occupied full time by busy parents who just don't have time to maintain their house.
Well, the initial process for either type of people is essentially the same. our goal at Nautilus Home Management is to save our customers time, allow them to relax and enjoy their homes. And that's true no matter who you are and what kind of house you have. So we try to pair up early on through conversations and initial meetings if we can. If they're absentee, a lot of it usually happens over the phone. And we try to find out what their needs and wants are and if we're going to be a good fit. And quite honestly, we realize that a lot of times we might not be. There may be, for instance, they may rent the house all the time, which isn't our target market, or any other little issue. And so we're trying to find out if we can really help them and deliver what we feel will be the best value for them. If so, then we get to kind of what we're going to discuss today, which is when we come in and we actually inspect the house. And that process is very much like regular home inspection that most people are used to when they're buying and selling houses. The only difference there is we're really looking for the value proposition of how can we help this particular customer out by saving them money through their maintenance over the long time, over a long period of time. So we're looking at things from energy efficiency. What could we change in the house for relatively little money that will bring their electric bills down right away? We're looking at maintenance requirements that they may not be aware of or may not be doing at that time, that if done properly over the years will really add life to their systems, make them run more efficiently, and so they don't end up with that scenario down the road where a system breaks down and now it's very costly to repair.
And I can imagine a family that has a house on Kiowa. They fly in from Chicago. They make their way out to their house on Kiowa. They walk inside. They're on their vacation. They're all excited and everything, and then they encounter this problem or that problem, and all of a sudden they're spending their vacation time calling repair people, and in the back of their mind they can just see the minutes tick away that they have. Their valuable vacation time is just ticking away.
Absolutely. I mean, what's more disappointing than going on vacation and not getting your vacation? Right. So that's we're really here to help out in those situations. We're trying to prevent that situation from happening. And with the absentee owners, of course, they're giving us a heads up that they're coming into town. Of course, in addition to the preventative maintenance that we'll have in place, which by the way, we do a specific schedule, a customized schedule for each house, and perform it and document it and send them what's going on every month. So on the preventative maintenance side, hopefully those situations aren't happening, but of course things do happen from time to time. And then if they did show up and there was a problem, they just pick up the phone and call Nautilus Company, and we're there to take care of everything for them.
You kind of, before we started this interview, you kind of compared it to going to the doctor for an annual physical, or keeping yourself, your body fit. Because if you're not maintaining your body correctly, it's going to suffer just as if you don't maintain your house. That's going to eventually suffer.
That's absolutely correct. It's really quite similar. Of course, the house is made up of a bunch of living things, or they were at one point. It's moving, it's shifting, it's changing with the seasons. You have systems that will break down if they get older, very much like we will. So, we can't prevent everything. Just like the doctor, if you go consistently to the doctor, you do all your preventative maintenance, you do your exercise, you eat well, things can still happen. But with any luck, you've done the preventative stuff that will allow you to recover more quickly. And it's the same with the house. We're going to do everything we can to prevent problems from happening, but of course problems still do occur. But with any luck, if a problem does happen, it's a smaller problem than it would have been if the maintenance wasn't performed.
How does the home management plan bring value to homeowners? Give me some examples of that.
There's a few different ways. Certainly from an energy efficiency side, we can, depending on the house, the Idea house is relatively new, so it was built in a time where we're really considering things like energy efficiency, decent windows, better heating and air systems. Some of our customers will have older homes, though, that aren't in that scenario, and so we're able to go through the house and immediately find some things we can alter or change or upgrade in order to give them an immediate bang for their buck on their utility bills. The other value, and I think really the biggest value, is time and energy to the customer. How much is your time worth with your family, friends, or even just relaxation time? And we're able to deliver that kind of value to the customers. You think about when something does break down, or even when you just need the regular maintenance on your HVAC system, for example, in the spring and the fall. If they're only going to come during business hours, then somebody's got to be home to meet them. And so people are typically taking time off of work for a half a day or whatever it might be to be home to meet people. And instead, we can be there managing all these people, the subcontractors who come in the house. And additionally, we're going to be looking out for items. We're going to be time scheduling when things need to happen. So we just take away that entire worry.
You gave me an example off camera about a customer of the Nautilus company, and you were having the HVAC system inspected and found a problem. Tell our listeners and viewers about that.
We had a customer who had bought a house 4 years ago. It was a new home, so the systems were all brand new at the time. And going under the assumption that this is a new house that should last forever, they really didn't do much of the maintenance that should be done. And an HVAC system here locally should be looked at twice a year. Since we use heat pumps, the systems run differently in the summer for cooling than they do in the winter for heating. So right around this time of year in the fall, there should be service done on it to prepare it for the winter. Well, we convinced them that this should happen, and when the technician came in and started looking at the system, everything looked great except for one item, which was there's a little sensor on the compressor that detects when ice builds up on the outside, which happens when it gets cold. And if ice builds up on the compressor outside, it makes it less efficient because it's not allowing the air to flow through there and allow the proper heating to occur. When it can't do that, it kicks on the heat strips inside the house, which is like running a couple dryers at one time.
Super expensive.
Super expensive. So what happened was the sensor was installed incorrectly, probably from the manufacturer. So for the last 4 winters, they've been running the system and probably running the heat strips most of the winter with a very, very high heating bill. And it took the technician 3 or 4 minutes. He put it in the right place and said, here you go, it's going to be working now, and we'll wait and find out this winter what their heating bills are like. But it should be a huge difference to them.
Well, let's talk about the initial discovery process, and that's what you're going to do today at the Charleston Home and Design Magazine Idea House, and then we're going to check back with you later and go over that report and see what you found.
Absolutely, and like I said, in the discovery process, we will have already done a decent amount of it to get to where we are of doing the inspection. But during this part of the discovery process, we're going to go through pretty much a regular home inspection as would happen when we're buying and selling a house. We add in a few more things in certain areas, and we can always do more. Just like with the home inspection, if you want radon tests, they can be done. If you want mold and mildew tests, they can be done. But for today, we're just going to look at the standard items that we would look at in the house, from everything on the outside, from vegetation too close to the house. We're looking for branches rubbing against the house, wearing things away, drainage issues outside. When we come inside, we'll be looking at we'll document all the systems. We'll get the age of the HVAC system, the manufacturer. That way we'll be able to go research later and say, what are the maintenance requirements of this specific system? We'll be looking at the water heater, whether it's a tankless or a tanked water heater, because those have different maintenance requirements. And one of the other things we do that I shared with you before is we have a little dye test that we do on all the toilets. Hidden leaks are a major problem in our country, and water is becoming a short commodity. And you get silent leaks in water tanks in the toilets, and you don't even realize it, but you'll fill up the tank and it'll slowly leak out. And you don't realize. But we can put dye in the tank, walk away for 10 or 15 minutes, come back, and if the bowl starts turning color, you know you have a leak. And that way we can fix that.
And didn't you tell me before about do you alert your customers when there's some kind of a recall or something with appliances?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're going to document all the appliances, all the systems, and we're going to go back and find out anything we can about them, from their warranties, their maintenance requirements. If there's been recalls on them, then we'll notify them. It may be just simply it needs a new part. It may be that they shouldn't have it in the house anymore.
That's a great service. Okay, well, we'll check back with you after you've crunched the numbers and have that initial report for us.